Playground.
Hooray!
This is the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
For the first time in the history of this country, someone to serve as president of the United States has been criminally indicted. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Deron Harris, and this is the Deron Harris Podcast. Today, I'm talking about former President Donald Trump might be going to jail. That's what I'm talking about today on the show. But first, before I get started, I just want to really quick, fast, like I do every week, I want to check everybody's mental health. And hopefully everybody had a good week mentally. My week was really good. I'm going to try to keep the trend going. I didn't have therapy this week, which is a positive thing, but I do feel kind of naked without it. So next week I'll be back on the therapy train and I'll have a bunch of new stuff to talk about. So hopefully everybody's mental health was good this week. So this week I'm talking about former President Trump. Like I said, it's the first time in the history of our country that this has happened, that there's been someone to serve as the president of this country to be indicted on criminal charges. And not just criminal charges, felony charges. Currently, there are over 90, hear me? Over 90, I think it's 91 felony charges. Can I say that again for you folks? Currently, there are over 91 felony charges. That's wild business. 91 felony charges in 4 different cases in 3 different states against former President Donald Trump. So that's what's going on right now. This guy, he catching it from every angle right now. Now, before I really start getting into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, let me just disclose a couple of things. If you know me, you know how I feel about this motherfucker. But I'm going to try to put that away for this podcast and just basically go over what he could possibly be going away for and whether or not you think that he should go away for it. I'll get into how I feel about him later, maybe a different podcast, but for right now, I'm not going to speak on that because I'm just not going to speak on it. So let's get to it. So currently, he faces 34 felony counts for falsifying business records in the first degree under New York Penal Law 175-10. Okay? Now, normally in New York, it's not a big deal. And that's in most places. It's not a big deal to falsify your business records. And really, honestly, the punishment is a misdemeanor for that. So it's not really a serious deal, but it becomes serious, and it also becomes a felony if he falsifies records with the intention of furthering a much bigger separate crime. Did you hear me? It becomes a felony if he falsifies the records with the intention of furthering a much bigger separate crime, like paying off a porn star to keep her mouth shut while you run for president. In Georgia, he has 13 total charges and faces 1 count of violating the Racketeer Influenced and Corruption Organization Act, 3 counts of solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. That basically means he tried to get a public officer to go against his oath. 1 count of conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, 2 counts of falsifying statements and writings, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit false statements and writings, 1 count of falsifying documents, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit falsifying documents. And that was in Georgia, which today he was supposed to surrender. That gives you the date of my podcast. He was supposed to surrender today down at the Fulton County Jail. And there are people that are there to protest. There are people there to, I'm sure, that are there to start an uprising, maybe even some sort of rioting. I'm sure of it. You know, I've read in social media that plenty of people plan to be there in support of the former president. And sure, everybody has that right to protest. Everybody has the right to protest. And it is what it is. This guy has followers. He's got fans. He's got people who were fans of his before he had any political aspirations. He's a very popular guy, of course. There are people who are donating money to this man. I don't know why he's got all the money that he could ever need. He's got a bunch of legal teams, but people are donating money so that, you know, he can use that money to help cover legal fees. They really, really are supportive of this person. And my question to that is, what if he's guilty? What if he's found guilty of these things? Are you still going to be as supportive? Are you going to dismiss those charges? Are you just going to chalk it up as a witch hunt? I mean, what are you going to do? Because basically, it's the law that people are trying to follow. They're trying to enforce the law to someone who has violated the law. You know, they're trying to do their jobs. But I guess the judge really brought the hammer down, and they said, hold on, let me see. Let me look this up really fast. I saw this a little while ago. Okay, so this is what happened. So he's supposed to surrender today. So he can leave. He's got a $200,000 bond, which he's going to make that. So he's going to walk out of jail today. But part of the conditions, and these are the conditions, Trump will be, and this is as per NBC News, I saw this on NBC News, Trump will be prohibited from doing anything a judge could interpret as an effort to intimidate co-defendants or witnesses or otherwise obstruct the administration of justice. More specifically, he can't make any direct threats or indirect threats of any nature against any co-defendant, witness, or any victim, or the community, or the property. He can't say any of that. He cannot do any of that. And it says here that it's the above shall include, but are not limited to, posts on social media and posts made by another individual on social media. So somebody can't even say shit on his behalf on social media in a negative way. Which, I like that. I'm sorry, I just like that. Because, like I said, this gentleman is, and I use that term loosely, is a very powerful person. And he can command people just by saying, do this, and people will go and do it. So that is a very real possibility. And that is also not just a real possibility, but a very scary one also. And I'll tell you why it's scary, because some of the people that are protesting on his behalf, they were not necessarily concerned, but making statements on Truth Social and Twitter about there being Antifa and Black Lives Matter people there to obstruct their protest. And make no mistake about it, we don't do shit like that. It's y'all that do shit like that. We don't do shit like that. And let me further that by saying this. Now, this is generally what happens. Say we go and we protest. I'm protesting. Black Lives Matter. I'm protesting. Now, if people come out to counter-protest our peaceful protest, that's fine. But what ends up happening a lot of times is these counter-protesters or these MAGA, the MAGA people, they end up overstepping their bounds. Okay? And this is what I mean by overstepping their bounds. A lot of them, because of, I don't know what it is, mental illness, I don't know, frustration, I don't know. A lot of them, if you don't agree with them or you protest their candidate openly in their face, they get downright offended. They get super nasty to the point where they want to put their hands on you. Did you hear me, folks? They want to put their hands on you. They want to cause you bodily harm because you don't like their candidate, because he doesn't do it for me. And I'm entitled to that. But according to them, I am not entitled to that. Because their loyalty to this candidate is such that they're willing to go out and cause people physical harm. They're willing to go out and cause property damage. Some people have even, made death threats. There was a guy a couple weeks ago out in Utah or someplace like that who made death threats against President Biden. And of course, they shot him to death. But then there was a lady who threatened a judge in Texas and a state representative or something like that in Texas. Just death threats. And it's judges, jurors, anybody involved with these cases. These people are now starting to receive death threats. And my question still is, what if he's guilty? What if this man is guilty of the things? What if he's guilty? Are you still going to back that up? Are you going to overlook the fact that this man broke the law? And not only broke the law in one place, broke the law in like 4, 5, 6 places. Are you going to recognize that, or are you just going to sweep that under the rug and chant "Make America Great Again" until you get your way? Because that seems to be what happens here. Is there's a lot of bitching until this man gets his way, and people love it. And that's a lot of what they like about him, is the fact that he has this without a care attitude towards government. And to a degree, okay, whatever. But when it's everybody except him, it begins to become a problem, because not even people that are in his political party does he spare. And I'm just confused. I'm just confused as to, when did America go from being a country that demanded respect for that position or respect in that position to a country who doesn't care if there's a racist or a bigot or a clown, for that matter, sitting in the White House? Somebody that looks out only for their particular interest and disregards everyone else. How is that good for all of America? It's good for a few Americans, but how is that good for all Americans? I don't understand it. And that's why I don't understand a lot of the other candidates also, because really they just want to cut the rest of America out and make it for them. And I don't understand that, because the rest of us are here also. So that's in Georgia. So moving right along, federally, he faces 2 felony counts, including conspiracy one count of conspiracy of obstructing political proceeding under USC, which is U.S. Code 1512. That's a felony. 1 felony count of conspiracy to defraud the United States under USC 371. And 1 felony count of conspiracy against right under. That's 18 USC 241. USC stands for U.S. Code, by the way. And that's crazy. There's 32 felony counts of willful retention of national defense information under the Espionage Act. Now, if any of these charges are going to get him, this one might be the one. But there are plenty of other presidents who have had documents in their home. Okay? Plenty of other presidents that have had documents found. I mean, all the presidents have documents, top secret documents at their home. The problem is, this is the issue, is he showed those documents to someone without security clearance. So this person didn't have clearance that he showed these top secret military documents to. And then he made a quote that said to the effect of, if I was still president, I could have declassified these, but I'm not, so I won't be able to. Basically insinuating that the documents that he was showing that person were still classified. And that, my friends, is a no-no. And then under the Espionage Act, that just sounds, holy shit, that just sounds like you don't get out of that. It just sounds like you don't get out of that. It just sounds like you don't get out of that. And while Donald Trump may have long money, I think the United States government might have a little bit bigger of a pocketbook. So he also receives 6 felony counts of obstruction-related crimes under 18 U.S.C. 1512 and 18 U.S. Code 1519, and 2 counts of false statements under 18 U.S. Code 1001. So those right there, folks, that right there is what he's done, okay? In a nutshell, those are all the charges, and that's why this guy's in trouble. So based on that information, based on all of that information that I just gave you, or just that you just heard, based on all the information that you just heard, do you think that this man should go to jail? Do you think that he should go to jail if he is found guilty? If he's found guilty, do you think that these infractions are enough for him to go to prison? I, for one, I think yes. I think that these are, especially under the Espionage Act, I mean, I think that's way more than you need to convict this person of these crimes. The problems come when you start pardoning this guy. Now, we all know that if the next president that we have is a Republican, then he's definitely going to pardon him. The next Republican president that we have is going to pardon him. So it's only going to last as long as there's a Democratic president. And that's my feeling. But there might be a way, and this is what I found to be ridiculous. There might be a way where in some cases, a couple of these cases, he may be able to pardon himself. Yeah, he might be able to pardon himself. I'm going to take a quick, fast break. And when I come back, we're going to try to figure out why this guy is going to be able to pardon himself. All right? This is the Deron Harris Podcast. I'll be right back.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 99. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Yo, what's good, folks? Deron Harris here to tell you about Bird Dogs. That's BIRDDOGS. And I'm not talking about the Irish Setter. I'm talking about these pants and shorts that I just got from birddogs.com. Well, first, right off the bat, they make you look wonderful. Bird Dogs make you look good. Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit you slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon shorts, but they fit way better. They also fit better than these regular khaki shorts that you used to get, the cargo shorts. Remember those, the restricting cotton shorts? They fit better than those too. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing this cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you can get a slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any movement. Bird Dogs also uses this anti-stink, anti-sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So go to birddogs.com for your free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs, BIRDDOGS.com for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you, you won't.
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast.
Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to the program. Today I'm talking about Donald Trump and all the legal trouble that he is in, from the January 6th insurrection to the voter fraud scam down in Georgia, which today he turned himself in. I'm assuming, I haven't watched the news or anything like that. I'm assuming that he turned himself in. He was supposed to turn himself in. If he didn't turn himself in, then I wholeheartedly expect them to go after him like they would do anybody else. Warrant for your arrest. Get on the ground. Yeah, I wholeheartedly expect that. I would love to see that. But that's another podcast. And like I said, I'm going to try to keep my personal feeling about this person out. Not necessarily out, but I'm going to try to keep the derogatory comments to a minimum, because I do have some feelings, some legitimate feelings about this situation. So I'm going to try to keep the personal jabs to a minimum about this guy, so I can stay on track with the information I'm trying to give you. So out of all those charges, it's over 91 charges. Okay, I mean, it's 91 charges. It's over 90 charges. It's 91 charges. So if he's convicted on any of these things, it could be a problem. So what is happening right now, right after, like today? So today, in the past few weeks, there have been judges, jurors, prosecutors receiving death threats. So that's one thing that's happening. And there are people protesting on his behalf. I'm sure, in a few states, a few places throughout the country, that they're protesting on this gentleman's behalf. And like I said, I do use that term lightly. There are plenty of people who are getting ready for the aftermath of what this could be. I mean, what happens if he's found guilty? I mean, especially, these people's record of trying to put their hands on people. I don't know what's going to happen if their worst fears come true and this guy goes to jail. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Are they just going to be mad and tear up the Fulton County Jail? Are they going to riot and bust him out? What are they going to do? Well, the worst case, these are some things that could happen. He could get limited jail time, which might not be what he really wants, but it's better than going to prison. He might get limited jail time. He may get house arrest. He may get house arrest. That's crazy. He may get house arrest for all these things that he did. He may get house arrest. But also, what could happen to America if he's found guilty and has to go to prison? Well, the worst case scenario is his base will revolt violently. They will revolt violently. They could. I won't say they will, because I don't know. I don't know anybody's true intention. Although, yeah. Yeah. They could revolt violently, which could be bad for all of us, which could be bad for Americans. And it's such a shame that so many people would rather see this country tear itself apart than to try and fix it so that we can coexist together. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, y'all, Republicans and Democrats, ain't nobody going nowhere. You're never going to get rid of all the Republicans. You're never going to get rid of all the Democrats. You're never going to push them all the way out of office. You're never going to get 100% of what you want. Never. And it just seems really stupid to me that we just spend our time fighting with each other over dumb shit. I saw pieces of the debate last night, which Trump skipped, by the way, which I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why people are able to, why he's held to different standards, really, than other people. And why he's not, why he feels like he does not have to go through the same channels as the other candidates. I just don't understand where that comes from. Actually, I do, but I'll get around to that later. But he didn't go to the debate, and I watched this debate of all these other candidates. And, I don't vote Republican. All right? Let's just put that out there in the open. I don't vote Republican. That doesn't mean that I always like all the Democrats. But I just don't vote Republican because, for me, in my history, they've never done anything really to benefit me or my plight. It's always something that's the opposite, to take away from either my community or, it's always some sort of legislation that they pass that does not benefit my community, if you get what I'm talking about. So that's why I never vote Republican. I don't care about the tax breaks. I don't care about none of that. I care about humanity. I don't care about money. Okay? That's the one thing I don't care about. I don't care about somebody's lust for more money. I don't care about that. I care about human beings. I care how people treat each other. And I think that we should be absolutely ashamed of ourselves at the way that we are treating not just fellow Americans, but fellow human beings. We should be ashamed of ourselves. We should really, really be ashamed of ourselves. America, the world, but America really should be ashamed of itself because of the way that we treat our own citizens. It's a fairy tale. America is a fairy tale. Okay? It's a fairy tale. It's not anything like it was supposed to be or like it said that it would be. Nothing like that. And currently, we don't have any candidates that are dedicated to making it that way. We don't have any such candidate, not on the Democratic side, not on the Republican side. Unfortunately for us here as regular people, all we have are people who are concerned only with power, with their individual power. How much power can I obtain? If I'm the president of the United States, then I can do all kinds of stuff. Look at Ron DeSantis down here in Florida. This guy is, crazy. This guy is wilding out. You know what I'm saying? Down here in the state of Florida. And a lot of me is like, how is he able to do this? Well, it's quite simple. It's because the governors of Florida are put in charge to run their states how they deem they should run their states. And that's just the way that it is. Now, all these laws that come about, I want to know how they come about because it's not through census. They're not taking a consensus from people trying to figure out what they need. If they tell you they are, they're fucking lying because they don't. They just sit up and make laws that benefit them. And then they hide in secret and then they pass these laws. They give no one any time to react. And before you know it, you have a new law against these people that we can't do anything about. Look what he did to the voter lines. So, to me, this is what I think. All right? And this is me in a nutshell. And like I said, I want this podcast to be super long because I don't like really talking about this motherfucker anyway. So, I'm gonna make my case for why I don't think that he would make a good candidate for president. Anyway, okay, just regardless if I've never known this guy or seen this, and this was my first impression of him. This is why. If the first is he's disrespectful. First, straight off the bat, he is disrespectful, and not only is he's disrespectful to people from other political parties. He's just disrespectful to people. He tries as hard as he can to belittle people and to make them feel like they are small so he can feel like he is big. And he does that better probably than anyone, to sit there and make someone feel as small as they can, to try as hard as he can to humiliate them in public so that they cannot stand against him because basically, well, he's bullying them. And that's what it is. And what do we say? Oh, suck it up. You got to be used to it. No, you just shouldn't be a dick is all. You just shouldn't. I mean, because honestly, if that's what it is, I mean, then that is savagery. That just seems to be the most immature thing, and that's another one. That's the next one. He is immature. He's immature, straight like that. He's shown that he's been immature since before he ever had aspirations of running for president. This is an immature, tantrum-throwing baby of a man. And that's not a stretch. He's selfish. He's selfish. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about you. And it's so fucking stupid that you think that he does. He doesn't care about you. Okay? He might care about his immediate constituents, people along the same tax bracket as him, people who relentlessly and tirelessly support his cause. Those people he cares about. But he doesn't care about the rest of us. He doesn't care about the rest of us. And make no mistake about it, some of you sitting in your trailer with 3 teeth with your rebel flag sitting up there loud and proud, he don't give a fuck about you either. He don't give a fuck about you either. And that's the honest to God truth. And if you think he cares about you, you're a fucking moron. And that's it's simple as that. And also, another reason I don't think he's a good candidate for president is because he is a racist, a classist, and a sexist. And that right there is, I mean, shit. I mean, honestly, a racist, classist, and a sexist, and that's what you follow? That's what you follow? And the reason, let's make no mistake about it, the reason they follow him is because they approve of his ideology. They follow his ideology. They're accepting of his ideology. That's all it is. Racists, classists, and sexists. All of those people are his base. Racists, classists, and sexists. I mean, at least the ones that I know. I'm not going to speak for everybody. I can't speak for everybody. But I'll tell you what, man. The more I look around, the more I see these motherfuckers dominating their woman. The more I look around, the more I see elitists separating themselves from the rest of us. And the more I look around, the more I see people trying to preserve Confederate monuments and waving the Confederate flag loud and proud, and just proud to support an ideology that was based in slavery. And it's just a shame that they don't really recognize or notice that or even care about it. It's a shame. So, Overall, in my personal opinion, do I think Donald Trump should go to prison? And my answer to that question, you already know, is abso-fucking-lutely. That man should go to prison. And not only should he go to prison, he should go to prison for a while. He should go to a prison for a long time. But, you know, he's going to go to a white-collar prison, you know, and he's going to get the best of everything, and it's going to be all right for Donald Trump, even if he does go to prison. But he should go to prison. And the main reason that he should go to prison is because, man, humility is a motherfucker. That's been the Deron Harris Podcast this week, folks. Thank you very much for joining me. Join me next week when I'll be talking about, I don't know. I never know what I'm talking about next week. But you know what, though? I've been talking a lot about politics and shit like that. I'm going to try to not talk about politics next week. Okay? I'm going to try to stay out of politics for a hot minute. I'm going to try to stay away from some politics. So, I want to thank my wife and my parents for being the greatest family in the world. I want to thank my kids. I got some great kids. I got 4 good kids. I want to thank my producer, Jesse Yandel, and my best friend for encouraging me and putting me up to this podcast. And I'm sorry, man, I didn't take your advice. I ran the whole thing down. And I want to thank Gentry Thomas for giving me the opportunity, man. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate you. And hopefully everybody will continue to join me. Thank you again for listening to the Deron Harris Podcast and all of my nonsense. I'll see you guys right back here next week. Thanks for joining me. Peace.
You've been listening to the Deron Harris Podcast. Subscribe to the show, give a good rating, and everything you need to know is at DeronHarris.com.